Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your carefully curated sources and, well, we really try to unearth the most compelling, often surprising insights hidden within.
That's the goal.
Today, we're embarking on a truly rich and I think profound exploration of Genesis chapter 29. You send us a wealth of material on this pivotal moment in Jacob's life, and our mission today is to journey through this ancient narrative. We want to uncover not just the human drama, which is intense, but also the deep, prophetic, allegorical, and spiritual truths intricately woven throughout. So get ready to maybe challenge some of your assumptions and see familiar stories through entirely new lenses.
Indeed, this deep dive into Genesis 29 is it's such a complex and vibrant tapestry. It really reflects human drama, profound divine sovereignty, and perhaps most fascinatingly, these unseen spiritual battles going on. We'll be looking at how this ancient text, written millennia ago, speaks directly to our modern lives, touching on everything from, our most intimate relationships in the pursuit of purpose to the often hidden forces that shape our destinies. Prepare for some truly profound aha moments, I think, especially as we consider how destiny often emerges from the most unexpected places and through the most unlikely individuals.
That's a perfect setup. As we dive into this chapter, it's really helpful to remember Jacob's journey even before this point. He's a man who, until now, has largely been driven by what he can see, what he can manipulate, what he can control, a classic natural man in many respects, right?
Right, very much so.
Yet he's also the man who had that profound spiritual encounter at Bethel, remember? Where he saw angels ascending and descending a ladder, gaining a direct glimpse into the spiritual realm, and got that promise of God's presence and protection.
That encounter was key.
So he's carrying this tension, the natural earthly ambition constantly being confronted by God's ongoing reminders that there's always so much more at play, a spiritual reality influencing every earthly decision. We'll see how that very tension between the seen and the unseen, the natural and the spiritual, it just permeates every single moment of Genesis chapter 9. It's a powerful foundation for the unfolding drama, reminding us that even in our most human experiences, our deepest desires, our most painful betrayals, there are always deeper spiritual realities working themselves out.
And it is precisely in those unseen dimensions that the true significance often lies. Think about our most powerful emotions: love, anger, joy, grief. While we feel them in the natural world, their origins and their power are arguably deeply spiritual, shaping our desires, our motivations, our deepest yearning.
That makes sense?
The events of Genesis 29 are no different. They are deeply tied to a spiritual undercurrent. We'll meticulously discover how God's hand is guiding events, moving pieces into place, even when the characters involved are driven by purely natural and sometimes, let's be honest, quite selfish motivations.
That's right.
Very selfish.
It's a masterclass in divine providence, where human free will and divine sovereignty mysteriously intertwine. It's quite something to behold.
So with that powerful understanding of the unseen forces shaping Jacob's world, let's now plunge into the narrative itself. Let's trace the very human steps he takes as this drama unfolds. We'll begin by setting the scene: the people, the places, and the pivotal moments of Genesis chapter 29. The story, people, places, and things of Genesis chapter 29. Okay, let's trace Jacob's steps, because this is where a lot of the deeply human, relatable drama truly begins. Jacob, as we know, is a fugitive from his own brother Esau.
Yep, on the run.
He's fled home after his own act of deception, taking his brother's birthright and blessing. He's traveling to the land of the eastern peoples, which is also known as Padan Aram or Haran, following his parents' clear instructions: go find a wife from your own family lineage, from your mother Rebekah's people.
Right, stay within the family line. So this isn't just a casual trip for love, it's a journey steeped in the weight of his past actions, a journey of both exile and obedience, carrying the promise of his future. He's leaving everything familiar behind, heading into the unknown. A bit scary, probably.
Definitely. And the narrative immediately brings us to a crucial focal point: a well. Wells are not simply sources of water in these ancient narratives. They're almost, you could say, sacred spaces, recurring symbolic sites where destiny often plays out.
Oh yeah, you see that a lot, don't you?
You really do. Think about it. Abraham's servant meets Rebekah at a well, securing the matriarch for Isaac. Moses encounters Zipporah at a well, leading to his marriage and new life in Midian. Even centuries later, Jesus himself will meet the Samaritan woman at a well, offering her living water. These are places of significant meetings, of covenants, of life-altering encounters.
Wow.
In this particular instance, Jacob encounters shepherds gathered around a well, a scene of typical daily life. A great stone covers its mouth, and custom dictates that all the flocks and shepherds must gather before it's rolled away, requiring communal effort.
A big stone, huh?
Yeah, a massive one. This seemingly small detail hints at the waiting, the collective action, and sometimes the sheer human strength often required before accessing life's vital resources, both literal and metaphorical. It's a subtle foreshadowing, perhaps, of Jacob's own long wait for what he desires.
Interesting. And it's at this stage for destiny that Jacob's entire trajectory shifts. Describe that pivotal moment for us when Rachel finally arrives.
Certainly. So Jacob is speaking with the shepherds, asking about Laban, his relative.
His uncle.
His uncle, right. And then a young woman approaches with her flock. This is Rachel, Laban's younger and crucially beautiful daughter, a shepherdess tending her father's flock. The moment Jacob sees Rachel, something profound, almost visceral, occurs within him.
Like lightning.
Pretty much. The text implies an immediate, deep emotional connection. He doesn't wait for the other shepherds. Driven by this powerful, inexplicable impulse, he single-handedly rolls the massive stone from the well, a feat of strength that suggests a surge of adrenaline and purpose.
Just like that. By himself.
By himself. Then he waters her flock, and then, in a striking display of immediate deep affection, he kisses Rachel and weeps aloud.
Weeps. Wow.
Yeah. It's an overwhelming outpouring of emotion, almost love at first sight, driven by something beyond mere physical attraction. Contrast this, as you pointed earlier, with the more perfunctory kiss he'll later give Laban. This isn't just a pleasant greeting. It's a soul-dop recognition, maybe, a spiritual connection bursting through the purely natural.
That immediate raw emotion from Jacob is absolutely striking. He's not usually portrayed as being that emotional, is he?
Not typically, no.
Yeah.
It really stands out. So what happens next to cement this burgeoning relationship?
Right. What's the next step?
Well, after this dramatic introduction, Jacob reveals his identity to Rachel. He is her cousin, the son of Rebekah, Laban's sister. Rachel, recognizing the family connection, immediately runs to tell her father.
Okay. Makes sense.
Laban, upon hearing the news of his sister's son, rushes out to meet Jacob, embracing and kissing him warmly, welcoming him into his home with the exclamation, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." Jacob stayed with Laban for about a month, establishing this familial connection, and perhaps, for the first time in a long while, feeling a sense of belonging and safety after his difficult journey and estrangement from his own family.
So Jacob settles in, maybe thinking he's found a sanctuary, a safe haven. But Laban, his uncle, well, he's far from a simple, welcoming relative, isn't he?
Not at all. He's a character of immense cunning and manipulation, and the narrative quickly turns. After about a month, Laban says, "Just because you are my relative, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be."
Sounds generous on the surface, like, oh, I should pay you.
Exactly, like a benevolent uncle.
Yeah.
But it's a strategic move, a setup. Jacob, completely captivated by Rachel's beauty and his profound, instantaneous love for her, responds by offering to work 7 years for her hand in marriage.
7 years? That's a long time.
It is. But what's truly remarkable here is the power of that deep affection. The Bible tells us those 7 years of labor seemed to him but a few days because of his love for her.
Wow.
It really highlights the immense power of deep affection to make even the most arduous hardship feel fleeting, almost inconsequential, and Jacob's immense resolve, driven by this singular focus.
He's all in for Rachel.
Totally. Laban, ever the opportunist, readily agrees to this proposal, stating it's better to give her to Jacob than an outsider. Yet, and this is crucial, he secretly plans a deception. He never mentions any local custom about marrying the older daughter first at this point. That rule conveniently appears later.
Ah, sneaky. Setting the trap.
Precisely. The stage is perfectly set for a profound moment of poetic justice for Jacob, but also for immense human suffering. After the 7 years are fulfilled, Jacob, having kept his end of the bargain, demands his bride. Laban then gathers everyone for a grand wedding feast. Lots of food, lots of drink.
The kind of party where things might get a bit fuzzy.
Exactly. The kind of festivities that, as you can imagine, might dull one's perceptions and allow for a measure of confusion in the darkness. Under the cover of night, possibly aided by the feast's revelry, the dim lighting of the tents, and the custom of veiling the bride.
Right, the veil.
Laban brings Leah, his elder daughter, to Jacob instead of Rachel. Jacob, unaware in the darkness and perhaps intoxicated by this celebration, consummates the marriage with Leah. Laban also gives Zilpah to Leah as her maid, completing the deception.
Oh, man. That's just brutal. It's a truly heartbreaking moment when you consider the unstated emotions here, the silent suffering. Imagine Leah's thoughts and feelings in that moment. A mix of desperation for marriage, maybe a long-held secret longing for Jacob, coupled with the profound shame and complicity in her father's deception at her sister's expense. She knows she's not the one Jacob loves.
And she knows he thinks she's Rachel.
Yeah. And what about Rachel's feelings? The woman Jacob worked 7 years for, knowing her father gave her sister to the man she was promised to, the man she loved, the betrayal must have been agonizing.
Unimaginable.
So the next morning, as dawn breaks, the deception is revealed. Jacob awakens to discover it is Leah in his bed, not Rachel. His rage is immediate and palpable. He confronts Laban, asking, "What is this you have done to me? Did I not work 7 years for Rachel? Why have you beguiled me?"
You can just hear the fury and the shock.
Absolutely. This experience, of course, serves as a powerful and deeply ironic instance of poetic justice for Jacob, who famously deceived his own blind father Isaac and stole his brother Esau's blessing.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly. He's now reaping what he sowed, experiencing the pain of betrayal firsthand, realizing that Laban is far more cunning and experienced in this trickery than he ever was. It's a bitter, bitter lesson for him.
Precisely. Laban, rather than showing remorse, quickly deflects and cites a new rule when conveniently introduced after the fact. It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the firstborn.
Oh, now he mentions the custom.
Right. This justification, entirely self-serving, allows him to offer Rachel to Jacob after Leah's bridal week is complete, but with a steep and manipulative condition. Jacob must work another 7 years of labor for her.
Another 7 years. Unbelievable.
It's exploitation, really. Jacob, still deeply, irrevocably in love with Rachel and having already invested 7 years, agrees to this exorbitant demand.
What else could he do, really? He's trapped.
He feels trapped, certainly. After completing Leah's bridal week, Laban gives him Rachel as his wife, also providing Bilhah as Rachel's maid. The text explicitly states that Jacob then loves Rachel more than Leah and serves the additional 7 years.
So now he has both sisters.
He is now married to 2 sisters, creating an inherently complex, deeply challenging, and ultimately dysfunctional family dynamic from its very inception, destined for conflict and heartache.
And this challenging dynamic takes an even deeper, more poignant turn when we look at Leah's emotional journey through her children, a journey chronicled in the very names she gives them. The narrative tells us that when the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, or in some translations, hated or despised, he opened her womb while Rachel remained barren.
Wow. God steps in directly.
Yeah, this is a direct, undeniable act of divine intervention, a powerful display of God's compassion for the disadvantaged, the overlooked, the suffering. It implies that Jacob had already been with Rachel, but she had conceived no children, underscoring God's immediate and specific response to Leah's pain. It's a divine compensation for human neglect, a subtle but profound commentary on where God's favor truly lies.
That's powerful. And Leah's first 4 sons' names truly offer us a poignant psychological diary, vividly revealing her deep emotional pain, her longing for Jacob's love, and her eventual, crucial spiritual shift. Her first son she named Reuben, meaning sea, a son, saying, "Surely the Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me."
Such hope in that name, a desperate plea.
A desperate plea for Jacob's affection and validation, a naive hope that bearing the firstborn son, the heir, will finally earn his love and attention. But as we soon discover,
It doesn't work.
it doesn't. That hope proves to be utterly unfulfilled.
Yeah, because her next son she names Simeon, meaning heard. She declares, "Because the Lord heard that I was unloved, he has given me this one too." This name clearly indicates that the hoped-for love from Jacob did not materialize. She still feels hated or despised.
Still unloved, the pain continues.
Her pain persists, even with a second child, showing the deep-seated emotional wound that simply having children cannot heal if the underlying longing for love remains unfulfilled.
And then came Levi, meaning attached or companion. Leah's explanation this time is, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me because I have borne him 3 sons."
Her hopes are diminishing, aren't they? From love to just attachment.
Exactly. Her hope subtly shifts from outright passionate love to a mere connection or attachment, a yearning for her husband to be a companion to her. It's a sad revelation of her diminishing expectations, still seeking validation from Jacob, perhaps seeing herself tragically as merely a baby maker for his lineage rather than a cherished wife.
That's heartbreaking.
It's a poignant illustration of the human desire for acceptance and intimacy, even in its most diluted forms.
But the truly profound shift, the one that makes Leah's story so eternally significant, comes with her 4th son, Judah, meaning praise.
Oh, Judah.
With this son, her declaration is entirely different. "This time, I will praise the Lord." This marks a profound and utterly transformative turning point. Leah's focus shifts dramatically from desperately seeking human validation and love from Jacob, a love she has clearly not found, to finding solace, purpose, and contentment in praising God alone.
She gives up on Jacob, in a way, and turns to God.
It seems so. After Judah, she stops having children for a time, a subtle but powerful signal of a newfound spiritual peace, perhaps. A contentment that transcends her earthly disappointments and unmet desires. She has found her worth not in her husband's eyes, but in her God.
A remarkable transformation. 2. Prophetic aspects. Messianic and eschatological prophecies.
What a journey Leah has been on. Incredible. And here's where this incredible story truly transcends human drama. The saga of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah is far more than just a family narrative. It's intricately woven with profound prophetic threads, particularly concerning the lineage of the Messiah and God's ultimate unfolding plan for humanity.
Absolutely. What's profoundly fascinating here is the pivotal, almost counterintuitive role of Leah in messianic prophecy. Despite Jacob's explicit, consuming love for the beautiful, well-favored Rachel.
The one he worked 14 years for.
Exactly. And Leah being the unloved or weak-eyed elder sister given to Jacob through deception, the lineage of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, comes directly and undeniably through Leah's fourth son, Judah.
Judah, the priest's son.
Judah, yeah. His name, meaning praise, beautifully reflects Leah's spiritual breakthrough. And this son becomes the ancestor of the great Davidic monarchy, as foretold powerfully in Genesis 49:10, and ultimately Jesus Christ, the majestic lion of the tribe of Judah, as we see proclaimed in Matthew 1:2-3 and Revelation 5:5. This isn't just a historical detail, it's a divine statement. It's mind-blowing, really.
So God's plan isn't based on human preference, on who we find most appealing or what fits our societal standards of beauty and success, is it?
Not in the slightest.
This is a powerful typology, right? A foreshadowing of God's redemptive work, demonstrating that his plan is not based on what we as humans might value: outward appearance, worldly favor, or even personal preference. Instead, it is rooted entirely in divine grace and sovereign choice.
That's the core of it.
Think about who we naturally gravitate towards in our own lives: the person with the most charisma, the highest achiever, the one with undeniable external appeal. But Genesis 29 completely upends that human preference. Here, God bypasses the beautiful, beloved Rachel and deliberately chooses to work through Leah the unloved, the weak-eyed, the one obtained by deception, to burst the messianic line.
It's a profound, almost countercultural statement, a divine reversal.
Yeah. God's GPS for destiny often points to the places and people we ourselves overlook. It's an insight that should compel us to question our own definitions of value and success, and it powerfully foreshadows Isaiah's prophecy that the Messiah would have no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, but would instead be despised and rejected by humankind.
Absolutely. And we also see Jacob's deep, unwavering love for Rachel and his extraordinary willingness to labor for 7 and then 14 years for his bride as a powerful typology for Christ's sacrificial love for his church.
Ah, okay. Explain that connection.
Well, when Jacob toiled for Rachel, those 7 years seemed but a few days because of his intense, profound love. This isn't just a romantic anecdote. It's a powerful foreshadowing, a typology of Christ's sacrificial love for his church, his spiritual bride.
Okay, I see that.
Jesus didn't just say he loved us, he labored on earth, enduring unimaginable suffering and death, fulfilling a perfect 7, you might say, in his redemptive work to secure his bride, us, all believers. It's a love so immense that any hardship, any weight, any suffering seems trivial in comparison to the prize of redemption and eternal communion with his people.
That's a beautiful parallel. And even the initial encounter at the well with Jacob, who is himself a shepherd-like figure, meeting Rachel, a literal shepherdess, and rolling away that massive stone. You mentioned that holds a powerful typological allusion, too.
Yes, definitely. This can be seen as a foreshadowing of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, meeting his bride, the church, at the well of living water, much like his profound encounter with the Samaritan woman in John 4.
Right, the living water.
And the rolling away of the massive stone can also be interpreted as a symbol of Christ's resurrection, which ultimately brings forth the living water of the Holy Spirit to all who believe, quenching our deepest spiritual thirst and removing any barrier to life-giving communion with God. It's all interconnected, isn't it? Every detail seems to have a deeper resonance.
It really seems that way, layer upon layer.
Indeed, the connections are profound. Moving from these clear messianic prophecies, Genesis 29 also contains compelling eschatological aspects. Now, maybe not always as explicit end times predictions in this specific chapter, but rather through overarching themes.
Okay, like what?
Well, the narrative strongly emphasizes divine providence. It shows God's invisible hand meticulously orchestrating all events, even through human deception and brokenness, to bring about his ultimate purposes. This consistent, unwavering working of God's will underpins the ultimate fulfillment of his promises, including future eschatological events and the perfect ultimate end of the Abrahamic covenant.
So even the messiness is part of the plan.
It seems so. It's a powerful statement that nothing is left to chance or randomness in his grand redemptive design. He is always working, always moving things forward, even when we can't see it clearly.
That's a crucial point. And the intense rivalry and strife that we see emerging between Leah and Rachel, and later, inevitably, among their children. You're saying that can actually be seen as foreshadowing the eschatological conflict and tension within the nation of Israel itself.
I think so, yes. This complex, deeply dysfunctional family dynamic, 2 wives, 2 handmaids, 12 sons, all vying for attention and blessing, becomes a profound microcosm for the future division and conflict among the 12 tribes, all of whom descended from this troubled household.
Right, the 12 tribes.
We see this play out throughout Israel's history, eventually leading to the historical separation between the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah.
Yeah.
It demonstrates how even within God's chosen family, human brokenness and sin can manifest and have long-lasting generational effects that ripple through history.
So the family drama has national, even prophetic implications.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yet, amidst this conflict and the brokenness, there's also a powerful theme of perseverance towards ultimate blessing. Jacob's endurance and faithfulness through Laban's relentless deception and his 14 years of arduous labor prefigure the perseverance required of God's people in the end times.
Like we have to endure, too.
Exactly. The analogy of Jacob's 7-year wait for Rachel, seeming but a few days due to his profound love, allegorizes the Christian's patient endurance for the glorious coming of Christ. It teaches us that love and hope, when truly rooted in divine promise, can make even the longest and most difficult trials feel fleeting, sustaining us through hardship with an eternal perspective.
That's encouraging. And ultimately, this entire story, with all its messiness, points towards end-time restoration and unity. How so?
Well, Leah's sons, specifically Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, become foundational to Israel's tribes and prefigure the miraculous regathering of the 12 tribes of Israel, as prophesied in Ezekiel 37:2 and 22 and Revelation 7:4-8.
The gathering of the tribes.
Yes. With Judah's line, of course, leading to eternal kingship, which we see majestically revealed in Revelation 5:9-10. Despite their rivalry, the 2 sisters, Leah and Rachel, ultimately build the house of Israel together.
Ah, okay. Together in the end.
Yes, foreshadowing the profound unity of Israel and the church as one new man in the eschatological kingdom, as beautifully described in Ephesians 2:15. It all culminates in the ultimate bride of Christ, revealed in glory, a beautiful picture of redemption, bringing ultimate unity out of initial division.
Wow. Okay, that's a bigger picture.
Moreover, carrying that theme forward, the initial well encounter itself can also eschatologically allude to the eternal sources of living water in the new earth, as depicted in Revelation 22:1. In that glorious future, Christ himself will quench all thirst, providing ultimate satisfaction, eternal refreshment, and complete healing in his perfected kingdom.
The ultimate fulfillment.
The ultimate fulfillment of all longing, where all the dryness and spiritual thirst of this world are finally and permanently satisfied. 3. Allegorical, metaphorical, typological, and elusive connections to modern-day lifestyles.
What's so powerful about Genesis 29 is how it speaks to us today. I mean, really speaks. Beyond the prophetic, this chapter is absolutely teeming with allegorical, metaphorical, typological, and elusive connections that speak directly to our modern lives, hitting home in ways we might not expect.
Oh, definitely.
The central deception, Laban's tricking of Jacob, where he works for Rachel but receives Leah, serves as a timeless allegory for the consequences of manipulation and the often painful reality of unexpected outcomes. It's a profound, almost unavoidable lesson in reaping what one sows, isn't it? Jacob, the infamous deceiver of his own brother and father, is now himself brutally deceived, experiencing firsthand the pain and betrayal he inflicted on others.
It's incredibly potent, and this resonates deeply and powerfully today in various forms of modern manipulation and exploitation, doesn't it? I mean, think about the pervasive nature of dishonest business dealings, or the carefully constructed fake online personas designed to mislead and manipulate.
Oh yeah, online stuff for sure.
Consider exploitative labor practices in the workplace where promises are broken, or even the common bait-and-switch scenarios in relationships where one thing is promised and another delivered.
Happens all the time.
It does. The morning after realization by Jacob, the shock, the anger, the bitter taste of betrayal, is a powerful metaphor for the disillusionment that occurs when reality brutally fails to meet expectations in a career path, a significant relationship, or even major life choices. We often pursue what we think we desperately want, only to wake up to a completely different, often harsh reality.
That really hits home. That brings us to a really powerful typology you mentioned, the lie of appearance, which fundamentally urges us to value substance over superficiality.
Yes, this is huge.
Jacob's intense pursuit of Rachel, the beautiful one, the outwardly pleasing one, perfectly represents humanity's pervasive tendency to seek what is externally appealing, what conforms to fleeting societal standards of beauty, prestige, and success.
Right.
Yet profoundly, God, in his infinite wisdom, works through Leah, the unloved and weak-eyed one, to bring forth the Messiah.
It's a direct challenge to our values.
Totally. This powerfully challenges our superficial modern culture, which is so often fixated on external beauty, curated images, perceived perfection. Think about the pressures of social media, the swipe-right culture of dating apps, the idolization of celebrity and physical appearance. Genesis 29 stands as a stark reminder, a profound truth, that true value and enduring destiny often reside in the overlooked, the underestimated, the seemingly less desirable.
Indeed. Leah's journey from despair and rejection to finding deep, resonant praise in God serves as a profound and timeless inspiration. Her story speaks directly to anyone who has ever felt unseen, unloved, overlooked, or that they were always the second choice.
There's so much hope in her story.
There really is. It beautifully models finding purpose and validation, not in human affection, not in external approval, not in outward appearance, but in divine recognition and blessing alone. It urges us, in a world saturated with curated images and superficial metrics of success, to value inner worth, character, and spiritual depth over fleeting outer beauty and societal acceptance. Her triumph is a powerful antidote to modern insecurity.
And the chapter, in its raw honesty, doesn't shy away from depicting deeply dysfunctional relationships. I mean, it's messy.
Very messy.
The love triangle, the blatant favoritism, and the intense sibling rivalry between Leah and Rachel are timeless themes, recurring patterns of relational brokenness that we see echoed throughout human history. Leah's deep pain of being unloved, her continuous desperate yearning for Jacob's affection and acceptance, is a universal human experience that transcends millennia. You can almost feel her aching heart.
You really can. These dynamics powerfully allude to various forms of relational brokenness that plague modern families today. The silent wounds of favoritism, the destructive sting of jealousy, the crippling grip of insecurity, and the tragic tendency for individuals in close relationships to unconsciously use each other out of their own brokenness, creating endless cycles of hurt and unmet needs.
That using each other point is interesting. Explain that a bit more.
Well, you see Leah trying to use children to get Jacob's love. Jacob is perhaps using Rachel's beauty to satisfy his desires, maybe overlooking deeper connection initially. Laban is obviously using Jacob for later. It becomes transactional, driven by individual needs and hurts rather than selfless love.
Right, okay. You've hit on a critical point there. Leah's desperate attempts to gain Jacob's love through bearing children. Reuben, Simeon, Levi symbolize a modern human desire for acceptance, validation, and intimacy, often sought through external achievements or by trying to earn love through performance.
Exactly, that earning love trap.
How many of us, even today, fall into that crazy cycle in our own relationships or careers, constantly trying to prove our worth, to earn affection, to achieve some external metric, only to come up empty and exhausted when those deepest desires for genuine love are not met?
It's exhausting and ultimately futile. Her story ultimately highlights the profound need for healthy, sacrificial, and unconditional love in marriage and relationships, contrasting sharply with the problematic, transactional, and emotionally fraught relationships portrayed in this chapter. It's a powerful lesson in self-worth originating from within, from God, not from external approval.
Perhaps one of the most comforting and empowering allegorical connections in Genesis 29 is to the concept of divine providence in our daily lives, the profound idea of trusting the unseen hand of God.
Yes, this is so important.
The narrative's concept of God's invisible hand actively orchestrating events in Jacob's life, even amidst the chaos and human sin, is a powerful allusion to divine providence in our modern lives. It teaches us with striking clarity that even amidst profound pain, unexpected suffering, and seemingly random or unfair events, God is always intentionally working for a purposeful, wise, just, and ultimately good end. He is always moving.
Always. This perspective profoundly encourages us to cultivate a deep trust in God's leadership through the most difficult times. Whether it's the unexpected diagnosis of sickness, the devastating shock of job loss, the heartache of family conflict, or the crushing weight of global uncertainties. It invites us to see these challenges not merely as misfortunes, not as cosmic randomness.
Which is easy to do.
Very easy, but to see them as potentially instructional and purposeful for our character development and spiritual growth, reminding us that there is a larger, benevolent, and deeply intentional design at work, even when we cannot fully perceive or understand it in the moment. It transforms how we interpret our struggles. 4. Spiritual, mental, psychological, and social analysis.
This narrative isn't just a historical account. It's a rich canvas for spiritual, mental, psychological, and social analysis that offers deep, timeless insights into the human condition and God's intricate interaction with it. From a spiritual dimension, Genesis 29 profoundly underscores God's sovereign and purposeful hand at work in all things, even, remarkably, behind human actions, deceptions, and brokenness.
It's central to the story.
Jacob's entire journey and his difficult experiences are seen as a direct fulfillment of God's earlier promises to him, demonstrating that nothing is left to chance in his grand design. He is always faithful to his covenant.
What's particularly fascinating here is how God deliberately uses Jacob's difficult experiences, such as being deceived by Laban, which, as we've discussed, directly mirrors Jacob's own past sins of deception as instructive tools for his personal and spiritual growth.
Like lessons learned the hard way.
Exactly. These are not merely random misfortunes, but purposeful, divinely appointed events designed to teach him humility, dependence on God, and the painful consequences of his own character flaws. This reflects a profound spiritual lesson, that pain and suffering, while intensely unpleasant, are often purposeful and contribute significantly to Christ-likeness and character development, refining us in ways that comfort and ease never could.
That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but yeah.
It is. Leah's spiritual journey further illustrates this. Her progression from naming her children to reflect her longing for human love to ultimately naming Judah praise, signifying a powerful shift from reliance on human affection to profound trust and worship of God. God's explicit favor on Leah, opening her womb, highlights divine compensation for human neglect, urging us to trust completely in his providence when our earthly desires are thwarted.
Moving to the mental and psychological dimensions, Jacob experiences immense emotional turmoil that fundamentally reshapes him. Previously a master deceiver, he now faces his own poetic justice by being deceived, leading to shock, intense anger, deep dismay, and a painful, humbling lesson.
A major turning point for him.
Definitely. He is forced into an emotionally complex and inherently challenging life with 2 wives, one deeply loved and one tragically unloved, creating a foundational pattern for future family dysfunction and marking a significant turning point in his character development. This profound deception causes intense cognitive dissonance, brutally challenging his self-reliance, his cleverness, and his ability to control outcomes, ultimately fostering a new, albeit hard-won kind of resilience rooted in his dependence on God.
Leah's experience is perhaps even more psychologically profound, a true testament to the human spirit's capacity for both despair and transcendence. Her weak eyes likely contributed to her feeling less desirable, fueling her desperation for Jacob's love, a feeling of being inadequate.
That must have been so hard for her.
Incredibly. Her repeated naming of her children, as we noted, is a poignant psychological diary, vividly revealing her deep, unfulfilled yearning for intimacy, acceptance, and a profound sense of being seen and heard. She's grappling with what modern psychology might call attachment wounds.
Right, that makes sense.
But then, her eventual shift to naming Judah praise signifies a turning point where she finds inner contentment and healing by praising God instead of desperately seeking human validation. This demonstrates a psychological healing through worship, a profound release from the burden of seeking external approval, finding true worth in the divine.
And Rachel. She has her own struggles too, right? Even though she's the loved one.
Absolutely. As the beautiful and beloved wife, Rachel's initial inability to bear children, despite being loved by Jacob, creates a deep sense of frustration, desperation, and jealousy toward Leah. It demonstrates how even those with apparent advantages can harbor profound psychological pain and the unique grief associated with infertility. Being loved doesn't solve all problems.
Good point. Socially, the narrative of Genesis 29 reveals much about the customs and expectations of the patriarchal society of the time. We see the explicit practice of marrying the older daughter before the younger, a custom Laban exploits. We also see the intricate negotiation of dowries and labor as a form of payment.
Yeah, the social context is key. Laban's actions, driven purely by self-interest and a desire to marry off his daughters and keep Jacob working for him, clearly reflect how social pressures and personal gain often impacted relational integrity, even within family structures. It highlights a transactional view of marriage rather than one based on mutual love and respect.
Very transactional.
Absolutely. The creation of a polygamous household with two rival sisters and their two handmaids immediately illustrates the immense social complexities and conflicts arising from such arrangements, directly contrasting with the biblical design for monogamous marriage and producing inherent instability.
Instability is right.
The struggles between Leah and Rachel for Jacob's attention and love, often expressed through childbearing, reflect the profound societal values placed heavily on fertility and the continuation of family lineage in that culture. Furthermore, Jacob's 14 years of labor for his wives exposes the exploitative nature of his relationship with Laban, highlighting significant imbalances of power within family and social structures, where individuals could be treated as commodities.
Like property.
Sadly, yes. The tension between Leah and Rachel, as we've seen, sets the stage for bitter conflict among their children, which will echo throughout the entire history of Israel. It powerfully demonstrates how deep-seated family issues and unresolved relational trauma can have long-lasting generational consequences, and it also exposes the profound vulnerability of women in a patriarchal society, often treated as property or means to an end. Behind-the-scenes spiritual battles and unseen struggles.
While Genesis 29 unfolds as a gripping human drama filled with relatable emotions and very human failings, it is also, at its core, a battleground of unseen spiritual forces. This chapter subtly but powerfully reveals that God is actively working behind the scenes, constantly orchestrating events.
That spiritual dimension is crucial.
He's guiding Jacob's steps, ensuring he arrives at that specific well where he meets Rachel, and even allowing for the manipulative circumstances with Laban. This is God's continuous, sovereign work, operating despite and even through human actions that are often driven by their own desires, their own self-interest, and their own sinfulness.
What's crucial to understand here is that the enemy, Satan, is always seeking to thwart God's redemptive plan, particularly by targeting covenant heirs and the messianic line, as Revelation 12:4-5 vividly describes.
Okay, so there's active opposition.
Active spiritual opposition, yes. Satan likely amplified Laban's deceit and Jacob's subsequent favoritism, sowing deep division and bitter strife within the household, specifically to derail the birth of Judah, the very son from whom the Messiah would come. This deception is not just human cunning. It's a direct manifestation of the spirit of lies, aiming to corrupt the lineage and undermine God's promise.
Wow. So the family fight has cosmic stakes.
It really does. Furthermore, Rachel's barrenness may also reflect a form of demonic hindrance or spiritual opposition to the messianic line, similar to other biblical accounts of barrenness preceding miraculous births, where God ultimately intervenes to overcome such obstacles. The spiritual stakes were incredibly high in this seemingly domestic drama.
But God's divine intervention is explicit and powerful in this chapter, an undeniable force countering the spiritual opposition. The Bible tells us that the Lord saw that Leah was hated, and in response, he opened her womb, while Rachel remained barren for a time.
God pushing back.
Exactly. This is a clear, direct divine intervention, a compassionate act countering both human neglect and any potential spiritual opposition to the covenant line. We can also infer angelic protection during Jacob's entire journey and years of service, building on his earlier vision at Bethel, where he saw angels ascending and descending, a symbol of God's active involvement.
That Bethel vision looms large.
It does. The entire messy story, including deception, intense rivalry, and profoundly imperfect relationships, is ultimately part of God's larger, unfailing plan to bring about the 12 tribes of Israel and ultimately the lineage of the Messiah. God uses even human sin and brokenness, the very things the enemy might attempt to exploit, for his unfailing purposes, never allowing his sovereign will to be thwarted.
That's the amazing part. He works through the mess. This highlights that the unseen spiritual battle is not just against external forces, but also profoundly within the human heart itself. Leah's plight is a spiritual battle for her heart, where forces of rejection, insecurity, and despair war against her.
Her internal struggle.
Precisely. Her ultimate turn to God for praise, culminating in the naming of Judah, represents a powerful spiritual victory. It demonstrates that the human spirit can transcend profound pain, rejection, and disappointment by finding solace, purpose, and ultimate validation in the divine. A spiritual battle that, in various forms, we all face today. It's a battle to believe that we are loved and seen by God, regardless of what human circumstances tell us.
And these unseen battles manifest in very real, tangible ways in our modern lives, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
They can show up as relational sabotage in our friendships or marriages, as struggles with infertility that bring deep emotional and spiritual pain, as persistent self-worth issues that plague us despite outward successes, as chronic envy that eats away at our contentment, or as deep disappointments and betrayals that attack our very sense of purpose and identity.
They're all around us.
So this chapter then urges us to recognize these ever-present spiritual dimensions in our daily lives, to actively pray for divine protection and guidance, and to cultivate a deep trust in God's leadership and purpose, even when his hand is not overtly visible, and especially when human love or earthly circumstances disappoint us.
That trust is key. It's a powerful reminder that God's greatest works often unfold in the hidden, painful places of longing and brokenness, where we least expect to find them.
The line of the Messiah through northernmost love.
What a journey we've taken through Genesis 29, peeling back layer after layer. But now let's explore a fascinating and deeply moving concept that emerges from your sources when we're calling northernmost love. We've emphasized how Jacob poured out his intense affection on Rachel, the beautiful, well-favored one.
The obvious choice, humanly speaking.
Right. But despite being the unloved wife, the one obtained through deception, Leah is the pivotal figure through whom the line of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, ultimately came.
This concept of northernmost love is profoundly insightful. While it's not a direct biblical term, it beautifully encapsulates a unique lens through which to understand God's way. In ancient cultures, the north was often perceived as a direction of colder, less fertile lands, sometimes less favored or more remote.
Okay, I get the metaphor.
So, northernmost love captures the idea that God's love, much like the ancient perception of that less favored direction, often flows towards the unexpected, the overlooked, the underestimated, and the seemingly unloved to fulfill his greatest purposes. God's choice of Leah is the ultimate illustration of his grace and sovereignty.
He goes against the grain.
Completely. He doesn't base his choices on human perceptions of beauty, popularity, or worldly favor. Instead, he deliberately chooses to work through the seemingly disadvantaged, the overlooked, and the rejected to fulfill his grand redemptive plan, powerfully reminding us that his ways are indeed not our ways, and his thoughts are far above ours.
So in a world that consistently prizes the beautiful, the successful, the Rachel archetype, the one we naturally gravitate towards God intentionally works through the Leah. It's a profound typology, isn't it?
It really is.
Jacob pursues what is outwardly pleasing, what his eyes desire, but God chooses the overlooked, the one with weak eyes, to birth the most significant lineage in human history, the very line that would bring the Savior of the world. It's a divine reversal that should profoundly challenge all our human assumptions about value and favor.
Absolutely. The Lord's deep compassion for Leah, seeing her humiliation, her unloved state, and her profound pain, directly led him to open her womb. This divine intervention, this northernmost love, blessed her with children, including Judah, from whom King David and eventually Jesus Christ would descend.
Through Judah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It powerfully demonstrates God's ability to take what is broken, what is devalued, what is considered seemingly second best or even rejected in human eyes, and transform it into something extraordinarily beautiful, eternally significant, and central to his redemptive plan. It's the ultimate divine reversal, unequivocally declaring that God often works most powerfully through what we did not want, what we did not expect, or what we did not initially value. He consistently elevates the humble, uses the unnoticed, and pours his grace into the marginalized for his grandest designs.
It really speaks to the core of God's nature, doesn't it? Choosing the weak things of the world to shame the strong, as Scripture says. Choosing the foolish things of the world to shame the wise.
Exactly, that principle at work.
Leah's story, therefore, offers incredible, tangible hope to anyone who has ever felt unseen, unloved, rejected, or that they weren't the first choice. It's a radical reminder that human preferences, human labels, and human rejection do not and cannot define divine purpose or limit God's boundless love for the overlooked.
Such an important message. Outro. So, Genesis 29 is far more than just a simple love story gone wrong. It's a profound theological narrative that illustrates, with stunning clarity, how God works through flawed individuals and imperfect, often painful circumstances to accomplish his perfect, unfailing plan. The tale of the unloved Leah, who becomes the matriarch of the messianic line, powerfully demonstrates that God's grace and redemptive purposes are often revealed in the most unexpected places, shining brightest where human light often fails to reach.
That's the essence of it, isn't it? Her deeply personal journey from emotional desperation and longing for human validation to ultimately finding solace and praise in God offers timeless lessons for our own struggles with insecurity, societal pressure, and unmet desires. The spiritual, mental, and social dimensions of this story offer a powerful mirror, reflecting both the depravity of human nature and, crucially, the undeniable power of God to bring beauty from the ashes of our broken relationships and our most flawed choices.
The spiritual battles, though often unseen and unacknowledged in our daily lives, are ever present and profoundly influential. Yet Genesis 29 assures us that God sovereignly directs all human drama, all the personal conflicts and global events, toward its ultimate eschatological conclusion. What began as the messy, painful family drama of Jacob's household in Genesis 29, fraught with rivalry and deception,
So much drama.
ultimately culminates in Revelation as the flawless bride of Christ and the perfected, unified household of God. It all gets redeemed.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now, as you navigate your own life and interpret your own experiences? Consider this provocative thought. God often works through precisely what man overlooks, undervalues, or even outright rejects. How does this profound truth challenge your perceptions of success, of true value, and of divine blessing in your own life? What seemingly insignificant, weak-eyed, or unloved aspects of your life, your gifts or your circumstances, might God actually be sovereignly using for his greatest, most beautiful, and eternally significant purposes?
Something to think about.
Definitely something powerful to mull over until our next deep dive.